Music is always a mystery and we're trying to make sense of it, but for me, a fantasy is a way to make that sense. Well, the Tennyson Fantasy is actually my latest composition. It was a commission from the Tippett Quartet, so it was written specifically for them. And I've heard them play it many times, and so it's really incredible to have them record it.
We all play in the English Chamber Orchestra, and about 3 years ago or so, Alissa came to a Cadogan Hall concert where she wrote her own piece. She played a Mozart piano concerto and she conducted as well. So I thought, well, this is obviously a formidable woman and we really love the piece that she wrote. So I asked her to write us this quartet. I think the biggest challenge is the flexibility in the music and the colours that Alissa asks us for. It's always changing, it's sort of constant metamorphosis in the sound and colour.
It was not only inspired by Tennyson's poetry, but also the last residence where he lived, Aldworth, on the Black Down. It's a place where I write a lot of music. I stay out there, I walk around in very special countryside. I've always found that poetry can give you a very good basis to paint words, but the search of music for me becomes easier when I walk in the beautiful countryside and then the music comes to you rather than you looking for the music. The Clarinet Quintet Loss is from a series of a cycle called Expressions, which are all pieces connected with a clarinet, the first of which are Eternity and Awaiting, and then Loss followed that. And this was the first time where I became interested in the idea of bringing a certain emotion, a word, into music. The fantasy for cello and piano was inspired by a poem written by Peter Woolrich, who is also the poet of the 2 songs on the CD. And this poem was called Ascent to Freedom. Interestingly, it was inspired by one of my own clarinet concertos called Freedom, and then I found a way to also translate the poetry into another composition, so it's like a real interlink between poetry and music.
The poem explores the quest to find paradise on earth through experiencing the extremes of nature. It's very flattering to have a song written for my voice. I suppose one of the reasons Alissa chose my voice for this song was the bass-baritone quality. There should be the high notes of a baritone and some of the low notes of a bass. And I think this range and lent itself kindly to the poem of Peter Woolrich.
Canisy is a miraculous castle in Normandy, where I was resident pianist and composer for 10 years, a place where people came together for wonderful food and wine and music, and it was always a paradise to whoever was there. So it then became a challenge to translate that into reality, into the real world.
We've talked a lot about her experience with Peter Woolrich in Canisy, this wonderful music festival. And so I suppose the challenge specifically has been trying to transport myself into that world and give as many effects as I can to the words and colours. And yes, there's a lot of pianissimo and specific markings within the piece, as well as a vast climax where we all wish that we could transport ourselves away from the constraints of time. And I suppose, yes, just working on the detail again and making sure that the specifics are all there.
I'm always looking to write about paradise. I think there is a lot of grief and chaos in the world at the moment, and I've always tried to find the other sides, and lots of my music comes from walking in the beautiful nature. In that sense, my music is also very much connected with England and with the journey here.